Anytime you can win 2 MLS Cups with 2 separate teams, I mean, you're doing it right. And I touched on him with Toronto. You know, they were patient with him, and I think that proved out to be the winning point for them. And so with Galaxy now, I think they were patient with him as well.
So the LA Galaxy are on top once again. Charlie, for you watching this final, which was really exciting, by the way. It was a really, really fun MLS Cup final. LA Galaxy, deserved champions?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you watch this game being played, the New York Red Bulls just didn't have a threatening figure up top. They were lacking a striker. They were lacking someone who could cause problems. And we touched on it before with John Tolkien, right, and Cameron Harper, that they're using their outside wing backs to get involved, to get touches, but ultimately they don't have anyone to serve the ball to. Dante Vanzeir was a ghost in this match, and Lewis Morgan isn't your number 9. He's great in transition. He's good when he gets the ball out wide and comes inside. And Emil Forsberg was forced to kind of help so much defensively that it ended up not having anybody in the attacking half. So, therefore, the Red Bulls had to rely on set pieces, and that's how they got their goal. But ultimately, you know, I think we knew that this was probably as far as they were going to go. And job well done by Sandro Schwartz to help the Red Bulls get to that position, but ultimately they just didn't have enough going forward.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was wonderful tactics from Greg Vanney, right? He brings in Brugman with the Puig injury, and what he brought to the team, you know, that first assist, but also just what they decided to do, right, was let the Red Bull have the ball, right? That wasn't what they were doing the entire playoffs, right? With Puig, you're a possession team, you're dictating the game. When now they allowed Red Bull to have the ball, now they weren't the same team that you saw in the playoffs, right? They were flying, Forsberg, Morgan, goal, like the game against NYCFC, heavily outpossessed. So, yeah, I think that just turned the game on its head, and I think it shell-shocked Red Bull, especially early on in the first 15 minutes, like, oh, wow, we have a lot of the ball. What are we supposed to do here? And then, pow, Galaxy got him twice in the first 15.
The 2 early goals, you know, you wonder if a team is going to sort of be able to hold on to that. And there were moments where I think it was questioning after Red Bull gets that, you know, the set-piece goal back. There are moments where you're like, I wonder if they could put that pressure on LA Galaxy to maybe try to find a third goal, stretch themselves out a little bit too far, and they can maybe attack. Did not happen. And as far as LA Galaxy are concerned, class of the West by far. If Red Bull were in the West, they wouldn't even have qualified for the playoffs, and you saw what that gap was there. It did make me wonder the entire time. I wonder how this team would have played against Miami.
I will say that Mark Delgado, I know Brugman won the MVP, but for me, Mark Delgado was the player of the match. He was phenomenal in the way that you didn't have Riqui Puig, who was supposed to be pushing, and Brugman's more of a defensive midfielder. Cerrillo, I thought, was very good, also planting himself in front of the back 4. But Delgado was that link. He was keeping the ball right to left. He was able to, you know, win the second balls. I thought Delgado was phenomenal.
Delgado was incredible.
Yeah, he's great.
Well, in terms of the legacy for the club, right? Like, LA Galaxy is the most successful club in Major League Soccer history. But it's been kind of dark days for them, at least for the last 10 years. And especially when you think about the conversations we were having about the LA Galaxy team at the start of last season and how dire things were and the fans protesting. To see the scenes after this game, to see what it actually meant to the club was pretty powerful. Alexis, what did you make of it?
I forgot who said it on the broadcast, but they said, you know, if you go back maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago, a lot of families in the crowd. It's a much more of a nice day at the park. There was an edge to them this year. There's an edge to the audience, the crowd that goes there. It's much more, it feels much more organic was the phrase they used. And from, you know, having friends that are part of Riot, I think when LAFC came in, there was a real opportunity for some of the folks that aren't downtown, that don't associate directly with the downtown part of LA, to say, we're gonna make LA Galaxy our home. And I think you saw that. There is a hunger to prove that this city is more than just LAFC. And LA Galaxy fans have stood on their heads this entire season, you know, from wanting to get Chris Klein out and protesting the front office, just proving that they're going to be a much louder voice. And I think you saw that. I think you saw that in this, in the scenes afterwards.
Yeah, it was pretty special. One of the areas that they improved massively is on the back line. And Captain Maya Yoshida has been immense, absolutely immense for the Galaxy, because they were leaking goals previously. I mean, that was kind of the narrative around this team. They were leaking goals, but they shored up that back line. They got the guys like Paintsil and Peck, the 3 Ps up top, working the magic. I just feel like they made all the right moves. It finally came together. And how much credit do you think we should be giving Greg Vanney for what he was able to do? Because there was calls for maybe his dismissal last season.
I mean, if he looked himself in the mirror, he'd have to be honest with himself and say, I didn't get the most out of the squad when I was manager last season. But there were some other forces that were at play. This season, I think when you partner Yoshida with Garces, I think Garces is an incredible signing for them. Yamane as well. So you brought that together. And then John McCarthy, I think, as a goalkeeper in this league who's had so much experience, won an MLS Cup with a LAFC, which is also crazy. I don't think much was expected of him this year, but in terms of his experience and his kind of guidance from the back line, not making those big mistakes that we've seen in the past, he's come a long way. And so I guess it also proves you don't need a big-time DP goalkeeper to get the job done in this league. So I think Greg Vanney deserves a ton of credit for getting the spine right for this LA Galaxy
He did
side.
something similar at Toronto, right? He was there for a year, and then kind of they were patient with him, and then boom, MLS Cup in the whole Giovinco time period. So.
Yep. All right. Well, we mentioned Maya Yoshida. Jenny Chu caught up with him after the match. Here's what he had to say.
Congratulations. You're seeing your fans there cheering you on. What does it mean to bring this trophy to these supporters?
They have been waiting for a long, long time, and they have supported us very, very well this season. That's why we are unbeaten tonight until today, and we made it. So very happy for them, very proud of them, and proud of my teammates, staff. So congrats.
Talk about that team that you're referencing, the fact that you guys, were dealt with adversity so many times, and then losing Riqui Puig, such an important player for you, and how you guys went through that anyway.
Yeah, the missing Riqui is really massive for us today, but we showed a great performance. Not beautiful soccer, to be honest, but this is a final. It could be like that, and no one remember how we play. People only remember who won, so we won it, and very happy for that.
Well, the last team to go back-to-back winning MLS Cup was the LA Galaxy back in 2011, 2012. Sal, when you look at the way this team has been put together and the pieces that are in place, what do you think? Can they do it 2 years in a row? Are they built for prolonged success?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Young strikers, they can finish, tons of numbers, goals, assists. Puig, obviously he's coming back from an ACL. He'll be there, in the summertime at some point, but they'll probably get some type of, summer transfer to kind of fill in until he can come back. But yeah, they're built for it. And it was nice seeing a lot of the Galaxy legends throughout the broadcast and see them, come back in the goal celebration, the Robbie Keane, even though it didn't look exactly like how Robbie Keane does it, but it was cool to see. And then Juninho, all those guys, it was a little blast from the past to see them there. And yeah, they got the job done.
Landon Donovan rocking the Riqui Puig kit. That was pretty cool. Pretty awesome to see. I have a question for you, because we had this conversation last week, and we were talking about Greg Vanney in terms of what his stature is and as all-time greats in MLS coaching.
Yeah,
Do you think he has inserted himself with this MLS Cup win? Has he inserted himself into that conversation of an all-time great?
Yeah, he's in there, and I'd say that because anytime you can win 2 MLS Cups with 2 separate teams, I mean, you're doing it right. And I touched on him with Toronto. They were patient with him, and I think that proved out to be the winning point for them. And so with Galaxy now, I think they were patient with him as well, to be honest. It wasn't too successul early on, with the Chicharito time period, but they were patient.
Is he Mount Rushmore?
I don't know about that.
Who would be? You got Siggy and Bruce.
Yep.
Siggy.
Would you go?
You got Bob. You got Schmetzer. You got
Schmetzer.
Vermees. You got
Dominic Kinnear?
He has a good shout.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. It's
You're 5. You're heavy
Rushmore's-
loaded in the top 5. It's
Yeah,
tough to get in the
yeah.
top 4. But I think with an MLS Cup trophy, second club, he's got a pretty good resume at this point. You can say that he can go to a team and he can build you into a winner if you give him time. That's enough for me to say you have a shout for the top 5.